Guys, it's BlockchainBrad speaking, and today I have some quite interesting news for you with regard to Neo. And because you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Neo, I'm personally invested in Neo, and it's not about me producing hype or sensationalist material. And please let me know if you feel that any of the information is not qualified, because I do try to do the research and back up what I say. Okay, so let's get straight into it today. I'm going on holiday soon, but before I head out, I wanted to quickly go through all this information. It was really valuable, and it's all because of this guy. So shout out to you, Mickel. You're an absolute superstar for some of the links you provided me today. So mate, big plug. If you haven't seen or you don't know where to find Mickel, he's on Twitter, and he provides really good information, and he's certainly willing to create a very educational dialogue with you, or when he's willing to establish one with anyone who wants to go and research and inquire into the blockchain itself. Mickel is one person I definitely respect, so thanks mate for your tips on some of the links that I'm going to be talking about today. Okay, so let's get started. I wanted to quickly also plug another person who I found on the Reddit post. This person is Baby Boo, so out of respect for you as well, you also were one of the people who highlighted this information and provided that to Mickel, and that led to my knowledge of what I'm about to talk about. So thank you very much, and let's find out what it was. So the information that we learned about today was through a Chinese site called Gold Finance, and that's what it says up here. I speak Japanese, so I can help translate a little bit, but basically that Chinese symbol represents gold, and I imagine this is all to do with finance as well. So definitely find out more about this site. I put this in here because it has a link specifically for blockchain technology, and I wanted to show you before I go into the specific news of the day. They have really good posts that are specific to the Chinese market, specific to Shanghai. The translations are not that great, but as you can see, it's all things blockchain. It's really worth getting to know this site. Alright, so let's find out what exactly the news is of the day. From someone who posted, an author named 58Coin on Gold Finance, they explain their position, and again, this is not financial advice, this is just something that is very likely to be the case. And again, guys, if I'm wrong, certainly provide the feedback, and I'm happy to adjust my news to suit. But I did try and find out that this was to inquire with whether or not this was a veracious source, and I think it is. Or sorry, veritable source, I should say. So yeah, I think it is. And basically the information is that in October there are going to be new regulations that come. It goes into talk about, it's quite it takes an affirmative position with regard to blockchain and even Bitcoin itself, and it also explains some of the government's intentions. Particularly, there's something to note here, and that is there's the 12th National People's Congress that's happening in October, and that's extremely important for anyone in finance, because that only happens, don't quote me, but I think it's every decade or every I'm not sure, but it's not a common Congress meeting that they have, and it's quite significant in terms of making key decisions for the economic prosperity of China. So that's important, and what they're saying here is that there's going to be votes happen, discussions happen, and it's every likelihood that there's going to be a discussion specifically on blockchain or reference to it that is going to impact the industry itself. So you can see here that the National People's Congress is going to be meeting, and I would encourage you to sort of try and find out what that's going to mean for Bitcoin. Now, down here, it's important to note that there were some responses to questions raised about Bitcoin itself, and there was this stuff that was highlighted in red. And basically what it's saying is that Bitcoin is not issued by the monetary authorities, does not have the legal and mandatory monetary properties, and cannot be called the real meaning of the currency. So obviously the translations are not that great, but it does raise the question of what Bitcoin is, whether or not it's going to be taken seriously in the future. and there was some positive things that came out of this, and that was that it was backed by the viewpoint from professors like this guy, Professor Deng Xiangping, and basically he was explaining what Bitcoin really was likely to be perceived to be from a legal standpoint, and that is, he explained that most likely it can be regarded as a digital asset or a virtual asset, which is actually the direction that NEO's already taken. So that could be a very good thing for Bitcoin if you're a Bitcoin fan, but we will see. But in terms of key news, there's talk also of something happening on the 1st of October, and that's really important for anyone to know about because, again, that's this here, if you see, and that is that this is the 5th session of the National People's Congress. So things are going to be happening there, and they're going to be discussing very specifically laws regarding laws specifically associated with virtual property, aka blockchain. So that's exciting because, you know, if you've got a government like China, a communist state, willing to have dialogue at this degree and at such an important Congress about blockchain, that means they're taking it seriously. So that's really exciting stuff. If you want to check out this site, there's also links here that are difficult to find, but you can certainly look further into it. I encourage you particularly to look at the Chinese Securities Regulatory Commission, and there's links also provided through JINTS, which I've already linked you to by showing you some really great information that's scrolled down and itemized for you already. So check out JINTS rather than, you know, struggle through the Chinese stuff. So I hope that really helps. Again, massive shout out to Mickel on Twitter. Again, check him out. I've shown you his link. But it is important that you are aware that both he and I were making sure this was a veritable source, and it was written by someone from Golden Finance. But again, it's really difficult to know anything more than the source is 58 BTC. So again, due diligence is an essential part, but I did do my best to provide the information for you. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about was kind of try to provide a converse argument to perhaps the, you know, various aspects of the news I provide. And this one was really just putting forward the idea that WeChat is being censored heavily at the moment, and WeChat was linked with Gold Finance as a source. So I just wanted to provide that to make sure that you're aware that basically what this article is talking about, which has come from coinspeaker.com, that sites like WeChat are facing a crackdown by the government because they're trying to stop a lot of discussions and news that's not controlled by the government, and they certainly, you know, they want to be in control even of the blockchain media. So it's important that you know that there's an alleged crackdown from according to Maria Konash, and she wrote this on the 22nd of September, so it's not that old. So worth knowing, and yeah, I found it quite educational. Okay, moving on. I also wanted to broach something that Mickel raised, and I found the sources of that. So thank you, and a massive shout out on the Neo Reddit page to G2Len88 and anyone who sort of jumped in. Basically, and also Crazy Crypto, because these guys provided some really cool information on the subreddit about a post that was done today, or a radio discussion, and that came from the Loop 97.9. And, you know, ignore the graphic of Rob Schneider, it's not really so much about that, but apparently today at the 55-minute, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I actually couldn't find it, I did try, so perhaps it hasn't been posted yet, but apparently there was a guy that got on and was referencing AntShares, which obviously is Neo. But the whole reason why I'm broaching this is because it was mentioned in the Reddit, the subreddit, the Neo one. It was pretty clear, as you can see here, that there was specifics about the time it was and date of the posting. And then I went on to make sure that there was actually such a site in existence, and there is. So even though I couldn't find it, I wanted to raise that with you because the more public exposure that Neo gets, the better, because that's going to filter down into essentially uptake of the security itself. So again, it's only a positive. It's gradually making its way into the mainstream, and that is really exciting for any investors in Neo. Okay, I wanted to also present this because it's worth just knowing this information exists. It's a bit old, so you might want to just disregard it if you think it's a bit outdated. But I just thought, given the gravity of this particular statement that I'm going to show you, I thought it's worth knowing about. It came from a site called Ars Technica, and it was written by Timothy B. Lee on the 16th of this month. So basically wanted to just sort of highlight this response, and it came from Reuters as well. And it was a senior Chinese official, so that's government level, and he was stating these key points. So I'll just see if I can really make it clear. He was saying that digital tokens like Bitcoin, Ethereum are stateless and do not have sovereign endorsement, a qualified issuing body, or a country's trust, are not legal currencies and should not be spoken of as digital currencies. He said they can become a tool for illegal fund flows and investment deals. So I wanted to broach that only because whenever I provide information, it's important that I be quite ambivalent about everything. And this provides the counter argument that perhaps China is focusing on NEO as the core blockchain facility for their economic digitization, and their digital economy. So, again, this is coming from an official, and I am focused at the moment a lot on government positions and stakes in this new industry. So just be aware of that, and just be cautious, I think, of your faith in non-NEO tokens and blockchains and appended dApps within the Chinese space, because perhaps the argument could be made that anything that appends to NEO is favourable, and obviously the blockchain itself, the NEO blockchain. Okay. Then, to make you smile perhaps and to alleviate some of that concern, I also found this article which I found really interesting, and though it was published in June, I think it's really relevant because it just shows that there's a longitudinal position that the Central Bank of China has, and that's really important because that should supersede immediate worries. It goes in to explain that there's a 5-year plan for blockchain, and that most importantly the People's Bank of China are leading the way. As you guys know, in a previous podcast, I explained that there's a digitized virtual currency coming, or a digitized cryptocurrency that is going to be pegged and backed by the banks. So that's going to be something that I'll be excited to deliver to you guys in the near future once we know more, but certainly that's coming. And the fact that raises the question, okay, cool, what blockchain are they going to use? Because that's an essential criterion for real-world applications and use. Okay, so check that out if that's interesting to you. That came from CoinDesk, this publication, and I found it quite informative. If you look here, it had 13 retweets, 192 in Reddit. It was popular 65, so it was quite a credible source as well. Okay, now getting back to NEO, I'm a big fan of the NEO platform and what it stands for, and they recently released their August report. It's a little bit old, but the reason why I post this is just because there's a Reddit post that provides a lot of news and information, and I think it's prudent for us to go and read through what's going on. I'm not going to go and read through it all now, but I'm trying to provide you with key links, which I do put in my descriptions in my YouTube post. So hopefully that helps. I don't monetize my stuff, but I do hope that everything I say is facilitative and perhaps can help to better direct you into an area of the blockchain that you want to learn about, particularly with regard to NEO. So it's great because it provides a summary, as you can see, with all the dot points, and that can only be good. So cool things are happening, upgrades and rebranding was the thing that started the price hike, all the way down to InnoSpace, which I've referenced before, to smart contract information, Tokyo meetups, and that's only the beginning. There's a lot more that happened after that, but InnoSpace is something to watch out for at the moment. Okay, and speaking of meetups, Tyler Swope, who I've plugged many times before, he's an absolute legend, in my opinion, in terms of quality NEO research happening in the West. He also raised this in one of his YouTubes, but there's a San Francisco NEO meetup happening, and this is cool because it's showing that this is transitioning into Western spaces, and I'm sure even in Australia, probably led by Bo at Cryptocurrency Australia or someone like him, there's going to be more discussions, particularly about NEO and other leading cryptocurrencies and blockchains. So cool things are happening in the West with regard to NEO. Uh, just to get closer to a finish up, I'm rushing, but I've got to go on holidays and go camping with my kids, so I'm just trying to get through this before I head out. This is great because there's 5 upcoming fintech and blockchain events in Shanghai, so I encourage you to go to the fintech site and find out. This came from Fintech News in Hong Kong in September 8, but basically what it does, it provides really good information about what's happening, and the reason why it's really good is because it's telling us specifically about this. And this is the inaugural Global FinTech and Blockchain China Summit. And it is happening in Shanghai. Now, let's just frame that for a second. That's just mind-boggling to think that, very recently there was a complete ban on another major summit that happened that was moved to Hong Kong, and this one is the real deal. It's apparently still going ahead. If you guys know more about that, then certainly flick it across to me. But my understanding is that this is happening, and it's further evidence. Further evidences the idea that the Chinese government is endorsing and the blockchain industry in very open ways. So, guys, have a look into that, and then also check out the TechCrunch Shanghai conference that's coming on the 28th to the 31st of this month, because TechCrunch are also a highly respected company or media platform in throughout the world, but particularly in China. So yeah, have a look and see what they have to say. I'll be following them. Just to finish off a few things, I'm going to give you a tip at the end about an up and coming investment as well that might be of value to you, but again, it's not financial advice. But moving to this really quickly, Neo and Elastos are reaching a strategic collaboration to further develop a smart economy. So that is really exciting. It's just another development that Neo is making, and if you want to find out more information, go to the Neo Reddit page, because every time there's something like this happens, it just consolidates the value of Neo, and inevitably is going to affect the price in a positive way. So guys, that's just another initiative. And finally, in terms of education, I wanted to direct you to a YouTube that was posted by the Neo Smart Economy. And Eric, who's a co-founder of Neo, he actually was leading the way in presenting key aspects of smart contracts. And I want to talk about that just briefly because I'm getting so sick of talking about ICOs. It actually is a baseless term in every way. It just means crowdfunding. I don't even know why there's so much hype about that stupid bloody word. It won't exist in China and South Korea for much longer because they're going to basically use a different term. They'll coin something different to refer to smart contract adoption. So really the focus should be on dApps. It should be on how companies are going to append to the blockchain in a business, in a business sort of scope. So it's important that we make that distinction and recognize that here we have a CEO on YouTube talking about the introduction of blockchain and smart contracts. So check it out, guys. You can see the information there. Alright, and finally, last thing I wanted to say was I've been researching a bit on ADEX, and I certainly am a novice on this, but the more I look into it, the better it's getting. It's being ported over to the Neo blockchain. So, whenever I hear anything that Neo's doing with their blockchain, I'm paying attention, because Da Hongfei, I heard him say verbatim that he only wanted quality on his blockchain or on the company's blockchain. They vet with far more scrutiny than the Ethereum platform has ever done in the past, and I think Ethereum are certainly playing catch up. But it is important to recognize that this is happening, and that the ADEX token, which is essentially probably going to become a securitized because it's being adopted into Neo, it's going to have significant value. And the fact that it's an advertisement platform speaks of volumes, because we're talking one of the biggest consumerist cultures in the world, with an advertisement platform being appended to their blockchain. So not financial advice, but I am an investor in ADEX. I think it's a very, very solid long-term hold. Okay, that's it from me, guys. I have to go and have a holiday with my family. I was supposed to be already gone, but I just wanted to pump this. Oh, no, my apologies, not pump. I wanted to provide this information. I'm not about pumping. I'm about long-term hold. I don't actually, trade. But yeah, if you think any of this has merit or if it's valuable to you, awesome. I don't monetize, so to me, the monetization is really just your feedback. I really value that as the currency of, intellectual thought, and appreciate a thumbs up if it was valuable to you. Okay, it's Blockchain Brad signing off. Until next time, podcast 8. Cheers.